In a world where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blur, where every shadow hides a secret and every whisper carries a warning, one channel dares to venture into the unknown. These are Scary Stories Unleashed, your gateway to the unexplained and frightening outer world. From chilling urban legends to true stories that send shivers down your spine, we bring the darkness to light. But beware, once you enter, there is no turning back. The horror you will witness here will haunt your dreams and your reality. Subscribe now and join us on a journey to the abyss. Press the bell icon so you don't miss any descent into darkness. Because here in Scary Stories Unleashed, the fears never end. I was 28, freshly single, and ready to dip my toes back into the dating pool. After a few lackluster matches on Tinder, I swiped right on Sophia. Her profile was mesmerizing: long, flowing blonde hair, striking blue eyes, and photos that looked like they belonged in a high-fashion magazine. Her bio was simple but intriguing: adventurer, dreamer, and lover of good wine. We hit it off immediately. She was witty, engaging, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. After a few days of chatting, Sophia suggested we meet at her place for a drink. "I'm a great mixologist," she said, sending me a playful wink emoji. Normally, I'd insist on meeting in public, but something about her charm made me throw caution to the wind. I agreed, and she sent me her address. The address led me to an older apartment building in a part of town I wasn't familiar with. It wasn't the nicest area, but I brushed off my unease, telling myself that not everyone could afford to live in a penthouse. I parked my car and walked up to the building, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. When I knocked on her door, a man answered. He was tall, muscular, and looked nothing like Sophia. My stomach dropped. Hi," I stammered. "Is Sophia here?" The man smirked. "Yeah, she's in the bedroom. Come on in." I hesitated, but curiosity, and maybe a bit of stubbornness, got the better of me. I stepped inside and the door slammed shut behind me. The apartment was dimly lit, and the air smelled faintly of stale cigarettes. Before I could say anything, two more men emerged from the hallway. They were both wearing hoodies, and one of them had a knife in his hand. "Wallet and phone," the first man demanded, his voice cold and steady. I froze, my mind racing. "What? Number, where's Sophia?" The man with the knife stepped closer. "Sophia's not here, but we are. Hand it over." I realized then that I'd been set up. Sophia wasn't real, or if she was in on this. My heart pounded as I weighed my options. I could try to fight, but there were three of them, and one had a knife. I could scream, but who would hear me in this rundown building? Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet, handing it over. The man with the knife snatched it from me and tossed it to one of the others. "Phone," he barked. I handed over my phone, my hands trembling. As soon as it was out of my hands, I knew I had to get out of there. I glanced toward the door, but the first man was blocking it. "Can I go now?" I asked, trying to sound as meek as possible. The man with the knife laughed. "Not so fast. We're not done with you yet." That's when I noticed the bottle of wine on the counter. Without thinking, I grabbed it and smashed it against the edge of the counter, holding the jagged neck like a weapon. The men froze, clearly not expecting me to fight back. "Back off!" I shouted, swinging the broken bottle in their direction. The man with the knife hesitated, and I took my chance. I lunged toward the door, shoving the first man out of the way. He stumbled, and I yanked the door open, sprinting down the hallway as fast as I could. I didn't look back. I just ran. I burst out of the building and into the street, my lungs burning. I didn't stop until I reached a gas station a few blocks away. I collapsed against the wall, gasping for air, and fumbled for the payphone. I called the police, my voice shaking as I explained what had happened. The officers arrived quickly, but by the time they got to the apartment, the men were gone. They found my wallet and phone discarded in a dumpster nearby, but the cash and my credit cards were missing. Sophia's profile had been deleted, and the address she gave me led to a vacant apartment. The police told me I was lucky to have gotten out unharmed. They suspected it was a scam to rob people, using fake profiles to lure them into traps. I couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen for it, and how many hadn't been as lucky as me. For weeks afterward, I was paranoid. I jumped at every noise, double-checked every lock, and avoided dating apps altogether. It took me a long time to trust again, and even now I'm hyper-vigilant about meeting new people. The experience taught me a hard lesson. No matter how charming someone seems online, you can never really know who they are or what they're capable of. Always meet in public, tell someone where you're going, and trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And as for Sophia, I still wonder if she was real or just another pawn in their twisted game. Either way, I'm just glad I made it out alive. In 2015, I decided to dip my toes into the online dating world, feeling adventurous. After swiping through countless profiles, I matched with a woman named Jessica. Her profile was intriguing. She had long, flowing hair, sparkling blue eyes, and a smile that seemed to light up the screen. We connected instantly, sharing stories about our lives, our dreams, and our fears. It felt as if I had known her for years. After weeks of chatting, she suggested we meet for dinner. I agreed, excited and nervous, as the day approached. Jessica chose a cozy Italian restaurant downtown, and I spent extra time getting ready, wanting to impress her. The evening finally arrived. I arrived early, my heart racing with anticipation. After a few minutes, I noticed a woman entering who looked nothing like the Jessica I had been talking to. She had short, dark hair and a completely different style. Confused, I checked my phone for any messages from Jessica, but found none. A few moments later, I received a message. "I'm running late. I'll be there soon." Relieved but still uneasy, I waited. The woman I had seen before walked past me, her eyes glancing over me, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Finally, Jessica arrived. As I stood to greet her, my heart sank. The woman from earlier was now standing in front of me, claiming to be Jessica. "Hi, I'm Jessica," she said, her smile faltering under my gaze. Hi," I stammered. "You look different than your pictures." She laughed nervously, an unsettling sound. "Yeah, I've been meaning to update them," she replied, but her eyes darted around the restaurant, betraying her anxiousness. As we sat down, I tried to focus on our conversation, but I felt the weight of her gaze on me, almost predatory. "So tell me more about your photography," I said, attempting to steer the conversation back to safer waters. "Oh, I love capturing the beauty of decay," she said, her voice low and eerie. "Old buildings, abandoned places. It's fascinating how nature reclaims what we leave behind." My stomach churned as her words hung in the air. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. When she excused herself to go to the restroom, I seized the moment to investigate further. Pulling out my phone, I started searching for her online portfolio. That's when I stumbled across a shocking revelation. The photographs she claimed to have taken were all linked to a creepy underground photography forum known for showcasing images of abandoned places. And some of the posts included disturbing details about people who had gone missing in those locations. When Jessica returned, I felt a mix of dread and determination. "So, I found your portfolio online, and it's interesting," I said cautiously. Her expression shifted instantly. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice dropping to an icy whisper. I hesitated, the weight of my discovery pressing down on me. "The photos, they're from sites where people have gone missing. Are you really who you say you are?" The laughter that erupted from her startled me. It was hollow, devoid of any warmth. "I told you I'm Jessica, but you don't know the half of it." Her eyes glinted dangerously. "I've always been fascinated by the stories that come from those places. There's something thrilling about the unknown, don't you think?" A chill ran down my spine. "I think I need to leave," I said, rising from my seat. "Leave?" she echoed, her voice now a low growl. "But we've only just begun." I turned to flee, but she grabbed my arm with a grip like iron. "You can't run from me. I've been waiting for this moment. You were supposed to be my next subject." Fighting against her grasp, I broke free and bolted out of the restaurant. The air outside felt suffocating as I sprinted to my car, heart pounding. I glanced back to see her standing at the entrance, a twisted smile on her face. her eyes glimmering with something dark. Once I was in my car, I quickly locked the doors and fumbled with my keys, desperate to start the engine. I could see her approaching, her pace slow and deliberate, as if savoring my fear. I finally got the engine running and peeled out of the parking lot, my heart racing. As I drove away, I took quick glances in the rearview mirror, half expecting her to be right behind me. The streets felt alien as I tried to navigate my way home, adrenaline flooding my system. When I finally arrived home, I locked every door and turned off the lights, hoping to hide from whatever darkness had just unfolded. My phone buzzed, and I hesitated before checking it, fear gripping me. It was a message from Jessica. "You can't escape me. I'll find you." Panic surged through me. I blocked her number and deleted the app, vowing never to return to the world of online dating. That night, I barely slept, every creak of the house making me jump. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Weeks passed, and I tried to move on, but I couldn't shake the memory of her twisted smile. The terror of that night lingered, a haunting reminder that some connections are not meant to be made, and not everyone is who they seem. I had just moved to a new city and thought I'd give dating apps a shot. After swiping through countless profiles, I matched with a guy named Tom. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. We exchanged messages for a couple of days, and he suggested we meet for coffee. "Let's meet at my place instead. I'll make us some drinks," he texted one night, and I hesitated. Meeting at someone's home felt like a leap, but he seemed trustworthy. I decided to ignore the warning bells ringing in my head. "Sure. What's your address?" I replied, excitement bubbling beneath my uncertainty. "Just a little apartment downtown. I'll send you the pin," he replied swiftly. The pin led me to a rundown part of the city, far from the vibrant area I had imagined. The building looked like it hadn't seen maintenance in years, cracked walls, broken windows, and flickering lights. I parked my car, heart pounding, but resolved to make the best of it. As I walked up to his door, I felt a mix of excitement and unease. I knocked, and after what felt like an eternity, Tom opened the door, his smile welcoming, but his eyes unsettling. "Hey, you made it!" he exclaimed, stepping aside to let me in. The apartment was dimly lit, cluttered with odd trinkets and a faint smell of something rotten. "Come in, make yourself comfortable." I stepped inside, trying to shake off the discomfort. "It's nice," I said, forcing a smile as I took a seat on a worn-out couch that looked like it had seen better days. "Want a drink?" he asked, heading toward the kitchen. "Sure," I called back, trying to sound cheerful despite the gnawing sense of dread. As he mixed something in a shaker, I glanced around the room. Photographs adorned the walls, pictures of Tom with friends, family, and a girl who looked eerily familiar. I leaned in closer, examining the happy couple in the frame, but the girl's face was scratched out. My heart raced. "Here you go," Tom said, handing me a glass filled with a vibrant red drink. "Cheers!" "Cheers," I replied, trying to ignore the chill that crept up my spine. I took a sip, and the taste was oddly metallic. I forced myself to swallow, but the back of my throat twisted with unease. "Do you want to see my collection?" Tom asked, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "Collection?" I echoed, my stomach churning. "Yeah, it's in the other room," he said, practically bouncing with glee. I hesitated but felt compelled to go along. "Sure, why not?" I said, trying to sound brave. He led me down a narrow hallway, the air growing heavier with every step. He opened the door to a small room, revealing shelves filled with jars, each one containing something preserved. My stomach dropped as I peered closer. "What is this?" I whispered, dread pooling in my gut. "Just a little hobby of mine," Tom said, a strange smile creeping across his face. "I like to collect mementos." I glanced at the jars, each one containing what looked like body parts, fingers, toes, and even a small heart, floating in a murky liquid. My pulse quickened, and I felt the world around me begin to spin. "Tom, I think I need to go," I said, backing away slowly. "Why?" "We were just getting to know each other," he said, stepping closer, his expression shifting from playful to predatory. "Seriously, I'm not feeling well," I stammered, my heart racing. "Don't you want to stay? I promise we can have fun," he said, his voice low and menacing. In that moment, I bolted. I raced back down the hallway, my mind screaming for me to escape. I reached the front door, but it swung shut before I could turn the knob. "Where do you think you're going?" Tom called, laughter lacing his voice. I pounded on the door, panic surging through me. "Let me out!" "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe," he said, closing the distance between us. I could hear the sound of my heartbeat in my ears as I pushed against the door, desperate to escape. But it was too late. The darkness of his intentions enveloped me, and I realized that sometimes the monsters hide behind a smiling face, waiting for the right moment to strike. But just as I felt the weight of despair closing in, a flicker of courage ignited within me. I spun around to face him, my expression hardening. "Tom, you need to let me go. This isn't funny anymore," I said, my voice steady. His grin faltered for a moment, and I seized the opportunity. "I'm not afraid of you," I declared, my heart racing with newfound strength. "I won't be your victim." His expression shifted, confusion replacing the menace in his eyes. I took a step closer, my resolve hardening. "You don't want to do this. You want a connection, right? Then let's talk." To my surprise, he hesitated, the darkness in his eyes flickering like a dying flame. "You really want to talk?" "Yes," I replied, my voice firm. "I want to know who you really are." For a long moment we stood there, the tension thick in the air. Slowly he stepped back, uncertainty clouding his features. "Okay," he said, his voice low. "Let's talk." We sat down on the couch, the weight of the moment hanging between us. I took a deep breath, ready to confront the chaos that had unfolded. "Why do you collect those things?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm. He looked away, shame flickering across his face. I thought it would make me interesting. I just wanted someone to like me." I studied him, realizing that beneath the facade was a man grappling with his own demons. "But you don't have to do that. You can just be yourself." He looked at me, vulnerability shining through the cracks of his facade. "You really think so?" "I do," I replied, sincerity in my voice. "We all have our quirks, but it's who we are that matters." After what felt like an eternity, a tentative smile broke through his uncertainty. "I'm sorry for scaring you. I just wanted to impress you." In that moment, the tension between us shifted. We talked for hours, sharing stories and laughter, peeling away the layers of fear and misunderstanding. As the night wore on, I realized that beneath the surface, Tom was just a guy trying to find his way, much like me. When I finally left his apartment, it was with a sense of relief and hope. As I got into my car, I knew that the darkness had lifted. Sometimes monsters hide in the shadows, but sometimes they just need a little light to find their way back. And as I drove away, I felt a warm glow in my heart, knowing that I had confronted fear and found connection instead. Maybe the city wasn't so bad after all. It all started innocently enough. I matched with Jake on a dating app. His profile was charming, photos of him hiking, playing guitar, and smiling warmly at the camera. We hit it off immediately, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. He was funny, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. After a week of texting, we decided to meet in person. Our first date was at a cozy cafe. Jake was even more handsome in person, and we talked for hours. He told me about his job as a freelance photographer and his love for exploring abandoned places. I found it intriguing, though a little odd. Still, I brushed it off as part of his adventurous personality. After that first date, things escalated quickly. Jake started texting me constantly, asking where I was, who I was with, and what I was doing. At first, I thought it was sweet. He was just being protective. But then I started noticing strange things. My favorite necklace went missing, only to reappear on my kitchen counter days later. My apartment keys vanished, then turned up in the pocket of a jacket I hadn't worn in weeks. I began to feel like I was being watched. One night I woke up to the sound of footsteps in my apartment. My heart raced as I lay frozen in bed, listening to the creak of floorboards. I grabbed my phone and saw a notification from the dating app. "Jake is nearby." My blood ran cold. I texted him, "Are you here?" He replied instantly, "Always." I called the police, but by the time they arrived, Jake was gone. They found no signs of forced entry, but I knew he had been inside. The next day, I decided to confront him. I went to his apartment, but the landlord told me no one named Jake lived there. He showed me a photo of the previous tenant, a man who had died in a fire years ago. That night, I packed my bags and decided to stay with a friend. As I locked my apartment door, I heard a whisper behind me, "You can't run from me." I turned around, but no one was there. When I got to my friend's place, I opened my bag and found a single Polaroid photo inside. It was a picture of me, sleeping in my bed, taken from inside my closet.